You're sitting at dinner. Your person is right across from you. Someone says something funny and everyone laughs. And you laugh too, but somewhere in the middle of that laugh, you notice it. You're not really there. You're watching it, like you're behind glass. Like you can see the warmth of the room, but you can't feel it on your skin. You're smiling, you're nodding, you're responding at the right times. But something in you knows you're performing presence instead of feeling it. And the worst part is the loneliness, because you're not alone. You're surrounded by people who love you, and you feel completely alone. I'm Erica, and this is Emotional Presence with Erica. And today we're talking about something that almost nobody talks about because it's too confusing and it's too uncomfortable to admit. Feeling lonely when you're not alone. This is for the woman who has the relationships, the marriage, the friendships, the family, who by every external measure is loved and connected, and who still goes to bed at night feeling like nobody really knows her. If that's you, you're in the right place. Here's what makes this kind of loneliness so hard. It doesn't make any sense on paper. You have people, good people, people who are trying. So when this feeling shows up, you don't know what to do with it because the obvious explanation just doesn't apply. You can't say you're lonely. You have a husband. You have friends. You're on the group chat. Someone just texted you this morning. So where does the feeling go? Usually nowhere. You tuck it away and you tell yourself to just be grateful. And maybe you are grateful, but both things can be true at the same time. You can be grateful and feel completely alone. Neither one cancels out the other. And here's the thing I want to say clearly. Feeling this way doesn't mean that something is wrong with your relationships. It doesn't mean that the people in your life are failing you. It doesn't mean that you're in the wrong marriage or you have the wrong friends. It means that something else is happening. And that something is what this is about. Here's what's actually happening. Loneliness isn't about how many people are around you. It's about how connected you feel. And connection, the real kind, the kind that makes you feel less alone, requires two things. One, being present with the other person. And two, being present with yourself. That second part, that's the one that nobody talks about. When you're disconnected from yourself, when you've been running on autopilot long enough that you've lost the thread back to your own inner life, you lose the ability to actually land in a moment with someone else. You can be physically in the room, you can look engaged, but the further you've gone into your head, your to-do list, your worry, your performance of being fine, the less of you is actually available to connect. It's like trying to pour from a jar that's been sealed. The other person is right there. The desire to connect is real. But there's a barrier that you can't quite name, and you can't quite see, and you can't quite get through, no matter how much you love them. That barrier is disconnection from yourself. And here's why this matters. You can't fix this by spending more time with people. You can't fix it by being a better partner or a more present friend. Those things might help at the edges, but they don't reach the root. The loneliness you feel around people you love is a signal. It's telling you that you've drifted. Not from them, but from you. I know what this feels like from the inside. There was a stretch where Jim and I would spend an entire evening together. Dinner, the couch, whatever show we were into. And I would go to bed and I would realize that I hadn't actually been there. I'd been physically present, half listening, doing the thing where you make the right sounds at the right moments, but I wasn't there. And here's what I want you to notice. He didn't know. Or maybe he did and he just didn't say anything. But from the outside, I'm sure I looked like someone having a perfectly nice evening. On the inside, I was somewhere else entirely. Not on purpose. I wasn't trying to be checked out. But I had been running so hard at work, at my business, trying to stay on top of everything, that by the time I sat down for the evening, I had nothing left to actually show up with. Not nothing in a dramatic way. I wasn't like falling apart. I was just gone, running on some kind of automatic that could hold a conversation, but couldn't feel it. And the loneliness that comes with that, the loneliness of being with someone you love and not being able to reach them or let them reach you, that is a quiet, specific kind of pain. And if you know it, you know exactly what I mean. If you're hearing something in this that you've never been able to name before, that's what this channel is for. I post every Wednesday about the things underneath the surface, the stuff you can feel but you can't quite explain. So if you want to keep exploring this with me, subscribe. I'll be here. This doesn't happen because something is wrong with you. It doesn't happen because you've stopped caring about the people in your life. It happens because you've been going for a long time without really stopping. When you're in that mode of managing, functioning, holding things together, you learn to live from the surface without meaning to. You respond, you show up, you do the next thing, but you stop dropping down into the actual experience of your life. Because dropping down takes energy and stillness, and there isn't always room for that when everything is moving. And one day you look up and you realize that you have just been going with the flow for years. You're still in the room, you're just not landing in it anymore. And that's not a character flaw. That's what happens when somebody carries a lot without putting it down for a very long time. Here's what I want you to notice. The loneliness that you feel in a room full of people isn't a relationship problem. It's a presence problem. And presence starts with you, not with them. You can't really reach someone when you can't reach yourself, and that's not a criticism. That's just how it works. The depth of connection that you can have with the people you love is directly tied to how much of you there is actually there. Which means that the path back to feeling less alone isn't a longer conversation with your partner. It's not more quality time or more vulnerability or more effort. Those things matter, but they're not the root. The root is coming back to yourself, landing inside your own experience again so that when you sit across the table from someone you love, there's actually someone sitting there, not just a performance of yourself, you. If what I'm describing sounds familiar, if you recognized yourself somewhere in this, I want you to do one thing right now. Comment the word challenge below. I run a free 5-day Emotional Presence Kickstart. And when you comment, I'll reach out personally to make sure that it's a good fit. 5 days, one conversation a day, and by the end of it, most people feel something real shift. Not everything, just something. And sometimes that's exactly where it needs to start. I'll see you in the comments. So here's one thing, not a fix, just a place to start. The next time you are sitting with someone you love, at dinner, on the couch, wherever. Instead of trying to be more present, just pick one thing to notice about them. Not to analyze, not to judge, not to figure out what they need. Just something real. The way they hold their coffee cup, what their face looks like when they're in the middle of a deep thought, the specific sound of their laughter. One thing. Just stay with it for a second. Not because it'll fix everything, but because presence builds in small moments. And small moments are where it starts. You have people who love you. And somewhere underneath all of the going and the managing, you have the capacity to feel that. It's not gone. It's just waiting for a little bit of space. If this resonated, I made a video about what happens when disconnection becomes your normal and why you're not broken. You've just been gone for a little while. It's linked right here. I'll see you next Wednesday.